earliest moments of human history, the heavens have inspired wonder and raised questions about humanity's place within creation. Long before telescopes or spacecraft, Scripture directed attention upward, presenting the sky not as an empty space, but as a visible testimony to the power and glory of God. At the same time, the biblical narrative constantly portrays creation as something entrusted to human care. As J. Richard Middleton, a biblical professor, argues, the Old Testament frames salvation not as an escape from the world, but as God's restoration of creation. This vision has become especially important today, as human beings now possess the ability not only to observe the heavens, but to enter them. This raises a real question for Christians. What role, if any, should space exploration play in the life of faith? Some see it as a natural extension of human creativity and stewardship, while others worry that it reflects pride or distracts us from caring for the earth. These concerns touch on core doctrine of creation, stewardship, and human purpose, and the limits of human authority. This paper argues that while Scripture does not explicitly command space exploration, it could be understood as constant with Christian stewardship when it is pursued with humility, ethical restraint, and a continued commitment to the care of the earth. The key issue is not whether humans can explore space, but how and why they choose to do so. The opening chapters of Genesis provide the foundation for any Christian understanding of humanity's role in creation. God creates the heavens and the earth, forming a world that is ordered, purposeful, and declared good. Humanity, made in God's image, is given the task of exercising dominion and cultivating the earth. This dominion is not a license for exploitation, but a call to responsible stewardship, reflecting God's own care for what he has made. It is important, however, to read this mandate carefully. While Genesis begins with a cosmic scope, the heavens and the earth, the command given to humanity is clearly focused on the earth itself. Humans are told to fill the earth, subdue it, and rule over its creatures. The emphasis is concrete. That doesn't mean the rest of creation is irrelevant, but it does suggest that Scripture places primary responsibility to the earth. Psalm 8 adds an important layer to this picture. The psalmist reflects on the vastness of the heavens, the moon, and the stars, and then expresses wonder that God has given humanity such dignity and responsibility. The passage highlights both human smallness and human significance. It does not read like a political statement, but like about ruling the cosmos. Rather, it emphasizes humans' unique role within creation. Even so, it suggests that reflecting on the heavens is part of what it means to be human. Similarly, Psalm 19 declares that the heavens declare the glory of God, presenting the sky as a kind of testimony. The implication is not that the heavens are off limits, but that they are meaningful. They invite observation, reflection, and even study. Throughout Scripture, creation is something to be understood as well as cared for. At the same time, the Bible maintains an important boundary. Psalm 115:16 states, "The heavens are the Lord's heavens, but the earth he has given to the children of man." This distinction matters. It suggests that while humans are invited to engage with creation, they are not its ultimate ruler. Any attempt to extend human authority beyond the earth should be approached with caution. Taken together, these passages leaves us with a balanced view. Scripture clearly calls humans to steward the earth and encourage reflection on the wider creation, including the heavens, but it does not explicitly command the exploration or development of space. That leaves room for responsible engagement, but not unchecked expansion. Even though Scripture does not directly address space exploration, several theological principles support its legitimacy when pursued carefully. One of the most important is the value placed on knowledge and understanding. The Bible constantly affirms wisdom, teaching that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Human curiosity, when rightly ordered, is not a problem. It is part of what it means to bear the image of God. Scientific inquiry can be understood as an extension of this calling. John Polkinghorne, a British theoretical physicist and theologian, argues that the universe is rationally ordered and therefore open to human investigation. In that sense, studying the natural world is not opposed to faith, but can actually deepen it. Historically, many Christian thinkers saw their work this way. Johannes Kepler, for example, described his scientific efforts as thinking God's thoughts after him. That idea still holds weight. Learning about the universe can lead to a greater sense of awe, not less. There are also practical benefits to consider. Space exploration has contributed to technologies that people now depend on every day. Satellite systems allow for global communication, accurate navigation, and improved weather forecasting. These tools play a major role in disaster response and environmental monitoring, helping societies prepare for hurricanes, track wildfires, and understand climate patterns. In a very real sense, space research has made it easier to care for life on Earth. This matters from a Christian perspective. The command to love one's neighbor is not abstract and includes using available knowledge and resources to reduce suffering and promote well-being. A space exploration leads to advancement that protects life or improve living conditions. It can be seen as serving this command. Space exploration has also encouraged cooperation between nations. Projects like this International Space Station requires collaboration across political and cultural boundaries. In a world often marked by conflict, that kind of cooperation is not insignificant. It reflects, at least in part, the biblical idea of working together for shared purposes. Some people go further and argue that while space exploration could eventually be necessary for human survival, the idea is that spreading beyond Earth might protect humanity from a large-scale risk. There is some logic to this, but it should be approached carefully. The Bible does not present human flourishing as dependent on technological expansion or physical survival at all cost. Christian hope is grounded in God's faithfulness, not in humanity's ability to outmaneuver every possible threat. Still, it is reasonable to explore long-term possibilities. Preparing for the future is not unfaithful in itself. The challenge is keeping those efforts in the right perspective. Space exploration can be a meaningful extension of human responsibility, but it shouldn't become the ultimate goal. For all of its potential benefits, space exploration raises important ethical concerns. One of the biggest is the temptation to overextend the idea of dominion. It is easy to move from humans are the stewards of creation to humans have the right to expand wherever they can. But that step is not clearly supported by Scripture. The biblical mandate is grounded, specific, and tied to the responsibility, not limitless expansion. There is also the issue of pride. Technological progress can create the impression that humanity is self-sufficient or in control of its own destiny. Scripture constantly pushes back against that mindset. Human beings are capable of remarkable things, but they remain dependent on God. Without moral guidance, even impressive achievements can lead to harmful outcomes. Another concern is the possibility of distraction. Space exploration requires significant resources, time, money, and attention. Meanwhile, there are urgent problems on Earth: poverty, environmental degradation, and inequality, to name a few. If space exploration is framed as a way to escape these issues, it risks undermining the very idea of stewardship. Christians are called to care for the world they've been given, not to abandon it. This doesn't mean space exploration is wrong. It does mean it has to be kept in proportion. Efforts to explore the cosmos should complement, not replace, efforts to address immediate needs. The two should not be set against each other. There is also a deeper theological point to consider. Christianity does not ultimately ground hope in human progress. The future is not secured by technological achievement, but by God's redemptive work. That doesn't make human effort meaningless, but it does put it in perspective. Exploration, innovation, and discovery all have value, but they're not ultimate. In light of these concerns, a more cautious approach seems appropriate. Space exploration can be good, but it is not ultimately good. It needs to be guided by clear ethical principles: humility, responsibility, and a commitment to the common good. The Bible presents creation as both a gift and responsibility. Humanity is called to care for the earth, to understand the world around it, and to live in a way that reflects God's character. While this calling is clearly centered on the earth, it exists with a broader vision of a universe that reveals God's glory and invites human reflection. Space exploration fits into the picture in a limited but meaningful way. It is not commanded in Scripture, and it should not be treated as necessary for human survival. But it can be constant with the broader theme of stewardship, knowledge, and the care for others. When pursued with the right motivation, It can deepen appreciate. It can deepen appreciation for creation and contribute to human well-being. At the same time, clear limits are necessary. Clear limits are necessary. Exploration must not become an excuse for neglecting the earth or ignoring present responsibilities. It must not be driven by pride or the desire for control. Instead, it should be guided by humility and a recognition of God's ultimate authority over creation. In the end, the question is not simply whether humans should explore space, but how they will approach it. If done wisely, space exploration can reflect humanity's role as stewards, curious, capable, and responsible. But if it loses its grounding in humility and ethical care, it risks becoming something very different. The challenge for Christians is to hold these tensions together and to engage the future without losing sight of the responsibilities already placed in their hands.
This topic further that Isaac's presenting to us. So, who would like to start us out with a good question? Yes, Anna.
Do you think it's a good thing to pursue sustaining life on another planet?
I think there is. I think that yes, but in like moderation. So we shouldn't just completely abandon our responsibilities here on Earth. But I think the idea of going to a different planet to inhabit it for like humanity to like continue to exist, I think is a really good idea. I don't really see anything wrong with it. It becomes, but I think when you take that and like turn it into control and desire to just like leave our responsibility here, then I think it's different. So.
Yes, Jed.
What's your opinion on NASA's upcoming mission to the moon? And do you think that it's okay for us to put a base on the moon?
Yeah, so NASA's actually launching a spaceship today, I believe, at 3:30. And their mission, I don't really quite remember what it was, but I know that they're trying to like circle around the moon. It's like a 10-day mission of some sort. So I think that's kind of like a cool thing to, I don't know, just explore the moon and stuff like that. So, what was your second question?
About putting a base on the moon. What's your opinion on that?
I don't see really anything like wrong with that. I mean, when people explore space like that, it can become helpful to like understand like God's creation better. I don't know if that's like really answering it that well, but so.
Isaac, do you think that funding for space exploration should be increased beyond what it is now?
I don't think it should be like fully increased because, as I said, there's still like a lot of issues here on Earth that I feel like should be addressed before making like space exploration, like investing more money into it. So I would say probably not right now.
Yes, Charlotte.
Do you think there's a limit to how far into space we should explore, or is it just like unlimited as long as we have a good mindset?
Yeah, I think it's I don't think there should be a limit, but when we have this desire to be like God and because I didn't mention this, but the Tower of Babel is a good example when the people tried to build up into the heavens and their mindset was pride and like, oh, I can be like God and stuff like that, and God did not like that, and so he kind of banished them. So I don't think there's really a limit to it as long as you keep the rule of humanity and just kind of like what God says.
Yes, Pastor Sweet.
Who should regulate space exploration, or should it have regulations? Should it be private entities or governmental organizations? What would you advise?
That's a pretty hard question. I think that as there shouldn't be like a single like person controlling it. I feel like it should be open to like. I feel like it should be open to like humans, because if there's just a specific person controlling it, then if they like find something like life changing or something like that, they could keep it for themselves, and it wouldn't be benefiting like the rest of humanity in itself. So I think that there should be maybe I don't really know, maybe like a board or something like that with people from all around the world coming together and discussing topics like that. So
Mr. Moss.
Isaac, according to your theology, do you think it's possible that the Earth dies and we have to migrate to another planet? Do you see that as a possible scenario?
I feel like with the topic of like war and like nuclear missiles, I do think there's a possibility of that actually happening, but I think if it really becomes that like dangerous for us to be living here on Earth, then I think it would be a good thing for us to maybe inhabit like another planet, just for the survival of humanity and humans. So that's what I would say.
Good. Benjamin.
You know, the cost of launching a rocket is far more than the average American could ever like dream of affording. So what do you think Christians should do? Like, how does this issue affect Christians, and like how should we be encouraging good and godly practices by the government and people in power who have the ability to affect space and to explore space? Like, what can the average Joe do to affect the issue?
Like you said that the last part one more time.
Yeah, just like what should we be doing in our own part to be good stewards of God's creation? Because we can't afford to go up in this space. How do we? Like, do you have any advice for us to encourage good and godly practices?
I think just I don't know, I think you should do some research before, like, since like NASA, I mean, NASA probably has like on their website, you can look up like different like missions that they're going to do, and so I think just looking at them and just thinking, I mean, I think that, yeah, I think we should just be humble and like, I don't know, I don't really know.
Alright. Yes, Mark.
So generally when it comes to like pushing the needle on scientific advancements, it takes someone who's like obsessed with their trait. Think of a lot of the best scientists of all time, very, very obsessive type personalities. So if a Christian was interested in advancing science, how do you moderate that kind of obsessive determination to push the needle with also following God's plan? Is there a specific way Christians should do that, or is it just kind of whatever right now? What do you think?
Are you saying like if someone is really into like pushing for like moving into space?
If a Christian wants to push the needle and they're obsessed with like science, how do you moderate that with also being Christian?
I think that you should be like, if you see that, you should be cautious with it, because the Bible doesn't like fully command us to explore space. It just says to like life on Earth here. So I think you have to be like really cautious when you get into that, and just kind of have humility when you're like going through that process. I mean, if someone's really obsessed with going into space, then they would probably know the concerns that it would have. So.
Yes, Desmond.
How probable do you think it is of the existence of extraterrestrial life being out there?
Honestly, I mean, there's not a whole lot of evidence to like prove that there's extraterrestrial life, but I mean, honestly, I don't think there's a whole lot of evidence, so I would just say probably not.
Yes, Pastor Sweet.
You are emphasizing humility a lot, and we're seeing in our society that we are our bodies, because people are trying to change their bodies to be something else. So how should we understand the vacuum of space and its lack of oxygen, if not as a fence instituted by God.
Uh,
So, since there's no oxygen out there, and
Mhm.
humans need oxygen to live, how are we not supposed to perceive that as being locked in here by God on earth?
I would say that, let's say that, can you say it one more time? It's like,
Let me help you. We have the capacity to live in space right now, right? There's
Mhm.
people out there. So, is it a good thing that we are overcoming our body's limitations to do that or not? As Christians.
I think yeah, I think that's a good thing, just like preparing for the future if something like that were to happen, if like the Earth were to like go into like nuclear warfare or something on that would happen. I think that's a good thing to like practice. So.
Isaac, when you think about this topic and the concept of pushing our creation mandate out into space, do you view that more in the sense of gathering resources out there, like as kind of an economic, let's gather the resources, or more of let's explore for exploration's sake, for the wonder and beauty of it?
I think it can be a little bit of both. I think that when we explore space for the purpose of like benefiting humanity, I think that's a really good thing, because like with the satellite systems preventing like, or tracking hurricanes and just wildfires and all that like weather, I think it's a really good thing. But also exploring the earth is like, because God gave us like well, curiosity is like something that God gave us, and so I think traveling through space is a really good thing. It's like a really good thing for like our faith and exploring just God's creation in itself, because God created it, and I think it's really good for us to just explore that and see that what He's made. That's kind of like His testimony. So.
Yeah, thank you. All right, Isaac. Well, thank you very much. And congratulations. You have